who are the traditional owners of the land on which we stand, and pay respect to the elders, past, present and emerging. Commissioner and State Governor-elect, Chris Dawson and Mrs Dawson, who's hiding here somewhere. Councillors, but they haven't turned up. Welcome friends, Jackie and members. Thank you all for coming. It's a really auspicious and exciting occasion, especially for me. I get very overawed when I can put my hand on something that Elijah Dawson wrote on at Westbrook in 1876, nearly 150 years ago. Elijah came to WA as an indentured servant, and I think probably even some of the members of our Historical Society mightn't realise this. He was a farmer, he was a father, quite a large family. He built Westbrook out at Vasse, and he became the first policeman in this area. Now, he was probably one of the first in Western Australia, which makes this quite a day, doesn't it? Because there wouldn't have been many. The military ran most of the things then. Very different world. In 1839, the settlement of Vasse had 77 settlers. Now we have 41,000 people. And possibly when he signed that, there was 150, 200 people living here. That would have been about all. And when he signed the Bible, the 9th governor was in office. Now I'll have to read his name out because he's got a much longer name than you. His name was Sir William Cleaver Francis Robinson, GCMG, and he was the governor. And we're really, really privileged now to be able to loan to the great-great-grandson of Elijah Dawson, the Dawson Bible, on which he will take the oath of office as Western Australia's 34th Governor. Congratulations to you, and good luck to you both in your new life, and above all, enjoy it.
Well, thank you very much. So before I take the Bible, I know that you may want to photograph that. Look, firstly, I too acknowledge the Wadandi people of the Noongar Nation, and acknowledge their elders past and those that are present. As Stephanie, as being the current president
Yes.
of the Busselton Historical Society, and of course this wonderful museum, obviously you've got committee members and volunteers and others here. Can I thank you all for really this wonderful opportunity for me to acknowledge the work that you do. It's really important that we preserve our history. I'll give you a little bit of my background and more of adding to what Stephanie has already said about why this is so significant. I started in the West Australian Police Force 46 years ago. I started when I was 5. No, not really. But I am finishing up in 11 days' time with my service. So I conclude my term as Commissioner of Police on the 14th of July. The following day, I've got the absolute honour to be sworn in as the 34th Governor of this state. A bit about my background is that when I joined police, while I knew I came from colonial settler stock, I didn't know at that point when I joined that Elijah was the first policeman that appointed here. And as Stephanie's already relayed, he, as one of the very first white settlers, arrived at Fremantle in 1830 on the good ship Warrior, and on that same vessel there was only 60 odd passengers. His senior officer who he'd fought with at Waterloo, they were Peninsular veterans from the Battle of Waterloo, and that was Captain John Molloy, well known to you all, and certainly Molloy, who had asked Elijah, who they'd fought at war with, to accompany him to the Swan River colony. And so it was a massive venture. If you think about those months and months of voyage, all their belongings were brought out, and he had a young wife. He was only 34 years old at that time. He had a very newly married man to a 25-year-old wife, Anne, and they came out here to start a new life. They had with them this very Bible, because I've had the opportunity to look at this once before, and I did some research when I was in the UK a number of years ago, and it's certainly validated all of the births and deaths that are recorded as they did in those days in a family Bible. So what happened from there was that they arrived in the Swan River colony, and the very first governor, John Sterling, met them there. He was also obviously a military man, having served in the Royal Navy. He convinced them that, look, they should actually not settle in the Swan River colony, because all the land had been taken up in the first few months of what they thought was arable land around the Swan and Canning rivers. So they said, well, come on, let's go down to where Matthew Flinders had named Flinders Bay, down at Augusta, and that would be a great site for a colony. And of course the names of the people that were on the Warrior, they then moved to another vessel called the Emily Taylor, and you'll be very, very familiar, if not descendants of the Bussels, the Turners, Wilsons, and others. And of course with them were the Molloys and the Dawsons. So this very first landing party at Augusta arrived in May 1830. So this Bible was on that vessel with the very first governor, Governor Sterling. So the irony and poignancy that my great-great-grandfather and great-great-grandmother were present on that vessel with the first governor, and he was appointed as the first policeman down here. Really, there's such a strong historical connection. It's quite incredible that the very first governor and the very first policeman would be accompanied on that vessel in 1830, and this Bible, fortunately, to the merit of the Historical Society and obviously the family members that donated it and preserved it, we've now got that. So when I had the absolute humbling privilege of being asked whether I would accept the position of governor, it's not a job that you can covet or anything like that, it's obviously a great honour. I was aware that I would have to swear an oath to Her Majesty. So when I quickly reflected on that, I thought, well, if I'm going to swear an oath, I might as well swear on this Bible as opposed to any Bible, because of the massive historical significance of that. And it pays tribute to, I think, not just Dawson's, it pays tribute to, I think, all of those people who really opened up the land here and had to engage with Ordandy people, all of those very, very difficult years. And we know that, in fact, it was so difficult, when they tried to drop the trees down at Augusta, they expected, and it's written up in several books, I know that you sell them here as well, they thought they'd knock one tree over, it would knock all the others over, like they do in England. Well, they didn't know about Jarrah and Chewett and all the hardwoods here, and they just found it so difficult to clear the land by hand that they made their move up to Vasse, Waterup, and of course the locality where we are now. So it's quite a significant opportunity for me to be able to, I guess, pay respect to our forebears, all of our forebears that really did those very, very hard yards. And I can now, with the gratitude I've got to be able to have this Bible for a week or two on loan, and then once I've sworn it in, I'll ensure it comes back to this great museum, and that's where it should be. I really think it's very appropriate that local history can be properly preserved, and the people that live here and visit here can now have that great opportunity to look at this and all the other wonderful historical record that you've got here. So that's the reason I'm here. I once again thank you all for what you are doing and what you're yet to do. It's really, really important that we don't forget our history and that we're able to preserve it. And because of those that follow us, will now have a much better linkage and understanding of why it's important to remember those that paid those sacrifices and did all that hard work. And we really are living in a land that we've enjoyed the fruit of their labour, and also pay respects to those traditional owners that have been here for years before white colonists came here, and we can actually have an opportunity to really understand the culture and move forward from there. That's enough words from me. There's food in front, and I know that's very dangerous for me to talk when there's food in front of me, but I really do once again thank you, and I'll make sure it's protected very, very well, and we'll return it in due course.
I can pack it in for you.
Good.
Thank you
Great.
very much. And we
Thanks,
do have a
Stephanie.
nice Dawson display there, which is
good.
going to be
Yeah.
there for a couple of months probably.
Tremendous.
So anyway, thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you.